As you're having all these conversations with these clients and catching everybody up, what's come up? What are people asking you? What, we live in a hot news cycle. What are people talking about?
Nobody's really talking about anything news related. It's all personal stuff, a lot of around housing, vacations, and just kind of things, that's
Housing.
on.
So like folks are they're outgrowing their home, or they're out earning what they want something a little more commensurate with their income.
I think a lot of people are just outgrowing their home, but they're stuck on the 275 mortgage rate, and they just kind of want, I won't say permission, but they want someone to tell them that it's going to be okay, that they can move. We've had some people who have moved, but they didn't sell their previous house and they've rented it out. And, they've realized after, 12, 18 months, 2 years of doing it, there's very little ROI in that. And it's kind of like, hey, I have this couple $100,000 of equity in the old house. It's kind of a lot more work than I thought it would be. There's not as much return on investment as I thought there would be. Maybe I should take this whatever, $200,000-$300,000 and just make it as a principal payment on my current mortgage and recast. For a lot of people, that's made sense. So a lot of the conversations that we're having is just around housing. Number one, how we handle two homes going to one, or how we transition from home to home. And then the other conversation, which is maybe even more fun, is trying to figure out how to get out by 55. I mean, that is like the recurring theme for every 40-year-old is, what do I need to do now to be done by 55?
And what's the plan at 55?
People just want to be out. They want to make it work optional, maybe do something fun. I had one guy who said, I want to, age 55, I want to be out and just like sell pontoon boats at, not Bass Pro Shop. What's the other one now? Cabela's, is that the other one that's like Bass Pro Shop?
There's a couple of them. There's that big
RV but this guy's like, I just want to, I want to be done, and I want to just like sell pontoon boats part-time,
okay,
just something low key.
Okay.
But people want that path to get out. It's just show me what I need to save every month. Let's get a plan to be done at 55. That's the recurring age that I continue here. That is the most popular one. People aren't saying 65, 62. Our generation saying 55. Want to be done.
Wild. And I love it. I think of 55, you're still, arguably in your
prime,
adult prime. Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's a lot of, I think it's the transition to maybe something that's a little bit more work-life balance, a little less stressful, maybe less time on the road. But we're dealing with a lot of sales people that are making between $400,000 and $600,000. And when you get to that income level, there's a lot of stress that comes with it. And I do think that people are, they see an end in sight when maybe it would be time to have a little less stress.
Yeah, no, I get that. One that comes up that I, talking about folks earning $400,000 to $600,000 annually, you kind of also came up as the Roth guy. I've heard, I'm not saying you're not that anymore, but I haven't heard you talk about Roth nearly as much as I did 5 or 7 years ago. When do Roth strategies actually make sense for your ideal client base?
It's really hard for people in that 32 and above % tax bracket to not get the tax break today. A lot of those people can do the backdoor Roth conversions. And so I would say that a majority of our clients are contributing to a Roth in some capacity. And I think the big conversation that we're having is, how do we pay less taxes over the life of your plan? That's going to include some Roth, because ultimately by the time you enter retirement, you want to have money in all three buckets. We don't want to have a ton of money in pre-tax that's never been taxed before. So it's kind of like, how do we create a close to ideal strategy based upon the laws that we have to deal with today? So ideally, you would like to have enough money in your pre-tax account that you could withdraw up to the standard deduction. And then you would go to your brokerage account, which I think is critically important and understated. And, currently you can take about $95,000 out in capital gains, not pay any tax on that. And then if you need money above and beyond that, that's where Roth comes in. So all three are critically important. And to ignore one is a fatal flaw in planning. It's kind of like any sort of diet, right? You need that balance. You need vegetables, you need lean proteins, right? It's a combination of things that really makes the plan powerful and working. So I love Roth, but people shouldn't put all their money in Roth, just like they shouldn't put all the money in pre-tax 401k and ignore future tax rates. I think the most dangerous thing is just putting money into that pre-tax 401k, regardless of income today. If that is your sole retirement income vehicle, you have no control over what income you can actually take home in retirement because you're completely at the whim of tax rates once distributions begin. So you've given yourself no optionality, no chances to win the game in a multitude of ways. We have no idea what the tax rates are going to be in the future. There's a ton of people who think they're going to be higher. Some people think they'll be relatively the same. I have no idea. But if we have those three different buckets of money, you at least give yourself a chance to mix and match. And, there's probably going to be, administrations that have different priorities on different things. And there might be periods of time where it's more advantageous to take money from pre-tax accounts. There could be times where it's more advantageous to take less. But you give yourself no chance to win the future game if you don't have some money in all three of those buckets.
Another question I have for you is, as you talk to more prospects and future clients and you're having the conversation with them, there's always a moment in every conversation when you can tell, like, oh man, they asked the question or this hit them. Like, these guys definitely are going to become a client. Any of those stand out to you? Is there any moment in a conversation that stands out where you're like, that was it? Like, every time this comes up, they inevitably want to work with us.
Because of the great content that you create, most of the people that come in do want to work with us. If they ask a question about our process, I know we're probably going to get them. Tell us about your process. Or the other one is, what's your philosophy about when we meet, or how often do we meet? And then I get a chance to explain the how we meet, right? Our commitment that we need from you is that you can at least set aside 1 hour a year for us to update the plan. That might seem silly today because you're super engaged and it's a hot topic for you. You want to get it done, but there's going to be periods of time, years, where you don't want to meet. You're going to say, nothing's changed. I don't really want to meet. I need you to commit today that you're going to commit to meeting once a year for at least an hour for us to get together and update the plan. Even if we don't do anything except talk about what vacations you took this year and what vacations you want to take next year. And then if I get a chance to talk about the why we think that's important, because we're not trying to be precise. We're never going to go through a 100-page financial plan with somebody. We're just trying to be directionally accurate. We want people to know that we're available when they have different life events that come up. So I kind of think about like one of the, like an EKG, right? You just have like, it's just going along. Nothing's really going on in your financial life. Then boom, it ticks up. Have a child, boom, 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 flatline, inheritance. So we want to be available for those spikes in the heart rate when you're trying to make hard decisions. But we're not going to meet quarterly just to talk about beneficiary designations. We're not going to meet every, second quarter of every year is not life insurance review month. We put a plan in place. It's going to be directionally correct in perpetuity unless you have life events. And so when you have life events, we want to meet as often as needed to get clarity around those situations.